Welcome to episode 2 of Under the Influence. We're here with Jake Ellenbogen, who is a well known figure in the NFL Rams media landscape. He's renowned for his deep analysis and comprehensive coverage of the sport. His journey in sports media is marked by a commitment to delivering insightful and varied football content. In 2016, Jake founded Downtown Rams, quickly establishing it as the premier source for Los Angeles Rams news, analysis, and opinion, offering a rich mix of content, including in depth articles, podcasts, and videos, catering to a wide array of football enthusiasts. Jake's partnership with former Rams and Buccaneers linebacker Cameron Lynch has become a notable aspect of his career in sports media. They co host Off the Edge, an NFL focused show on the Believe Network, where they share detailed insights into the sport. In addition, they also collaborate on Believe in Rams, a podcast launched in July 2020 that has produced over 170 episodes and offers an in-depth analysis and exclusive perspective on the LA Rams. Additionally, Jake lends his expertise to Turf Show Times, a comprehensive website for fans of the Los Angeles Rams. His contributions there also span a wide range of topics, from in-depth game analysis to team history and future projections. Today, we'll explore Jake's path to becoming a key voice in the NFL media landscape and also explore his passion for football and the ways that he engages with the world of football analysis. Jake, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm going to kick it off to Evan, our COO, who's also a very big Rams fan, and he's going to do this first round of questioning.
I am. I've actually been following you for a little bit of time now, so I've been keeping up kind of with your posts for several years. So it's awesome to have you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Evan. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it means a lot.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you first became a Rams fan?
Yeah, so it's funny because my dad actually, I told you guys off air, I live in upstate New York, but my dad used to live in Irvine, California, and he was next door neighbors as a young kid with Jim Youngblood, not confused with Jack Youngblood, but they were on the same team, no relation. And that's what got him into, a bunch of LA teams, but mainly the Rams. And, I was just raised to be a Rams fan from the moment I was born in New York. And, it didn't matter how bad they were. I've literally never missed a snap. And if I have, I've gone back and watched said snap. So it's been, full steam ahead. And, that's just that. I mean, I've seen a lot of good football. I've seen a lot of bad football. So, regardless, I'll be a fan no matter what.
So you're surrounded up there by Buffalo fans, and you're the lone Rams fan, kind of out there keeping it for the community, or?
Yeah, it's weird. We have more Rams fans out here than many would realize. I didn't realize that until we started going to sports bars to see the games, and this was a while ago. And we had just regulars that would show up. I mean, I think we pretty much took over one of the sports bars in my area at one point. Us and the Steelers fans. So, really, I think my area, it's all Patriots, Bills, Jets, Giants. It's like this giant conglomerate of, different teams. But for the most part, yeah, it's not like a ton of Rams fans out here, but it's more than you would expect for sure.
That's awesome. So what is it about football that fascinates you so much?
Well, football's a science. Aside from the science that you learn in school and what have you, football to me is just so impressive. And I feel like, as I've gotten to know more about the game, I still feel like I don't know half of what the game is. And I think that's the beauty about it. It's constantly changing. You have offensive coordinators like, Sean McVay become head coach at the Rams, start a new movement based on offensive, schematic, philosophies and, different structures. And then you see, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins and how he's kind of changing the offensive game. But then you see the defensive side. It's a constant battle. We went through the Legion of Boom Seattle Seahawks when everyone all of a sudden, after they, stopped one of the greatest offenses in the sports history with, Peyton Manning and the Broncos, we see that there's constantly this adjustment. And I think that's something that's so cool because everything's out there. You can do everything. You're not going to really be able to come up with much more. The rules are set in place. There's not too many loopholes you can go through pre-snap, post-snap, etc. But it's really fascinating how we continue to see how some of these coordinators find different ways. Some of it's based on the college game and the college landscape. And I think that's something that's so beautiful about the sport that's always evolving. It's also why it's probably the hardest sport to compare today's, players to former players, because it's a completely different game. Back in the day, tight ends were only used to block. Now tight ends will go out for passes, and they're a focal point in the passing game. You look at Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs, George Kittle of the 49ers, Mark Andrews of the Ravens, and you see how it's just like over time there's this adaptation, and it's really impressive. It's always really got my juices flowing, and it's something where you can learn something every day. And that's really what I've done. I think since I started in 2016, just looking back at, what I knew then and what I know now, it's vastly different. And, I get that. That's obvious with growth. When I started this, I was 21, and now I'm 28. But I think it's a real, testament to the sport. I played baseball. I never played football. So, it's been kind of a challenge for me learning, the X's and O's. And I think it's something that's beautiful about the sport because it's so complex. It's not to take anything away from baseball. And I would say probably the hardest thing you could do is in the major leagues, hit a ball this size with a bat. I think it's incredibly difficult. So not trying to take anything away from other sports, but I think football is just different because it's the schematic elements, the game planning, just of course the conditioning for said players. And then just, when you talk about getting everyone on the same page, these games are won and lost by 2 to 3 plays. It's just so fascinating. And that's why I love the sport.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, I think Dion actually said that, right? Deion Sanders was saying that the hardest thing to do in sports was to hit the ball, right? In baseball, he said that was one of the hardest things. And he goes, out of everything he played, he goes, hitting that ball was the hardest thing. So
not easy,
not easy. But yeah, ultimately it does come down to that couple plays, right? That's what I think. What's so interesting, I was telling my kids the other day about. I felt like soccer and hockey kind of scores too little, and basketball is a little too much for me, but football is nice because you get this medium level of scoring. You get those moments in time, which are really fun. It's not just 1 or 2 peaks. You have several peaks throughout the game. So you're back in 2020 or 2016, right? And you're, sitting at home and you're thinking, what am I going to do here in life? Like, how did you get started? How did you get started on social media, kind of where you're at now? What was the impetus for this?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I was in a really dark place, just having all sorts of issues with my depression, anxiety, dropping out of college, sleeping until 4 p.m. Eastern time. It was that bad. And my cousin was like, all right, what's one thing you're really good at that no one else is on your level, in your opinion? And I was like, might be a little bit too far. I don't want to say I'm better than anybody, but we came to the realization that football, and especially the Rams, made a lot of sense. So my cousin, Adam Grego, who I started Downtown Rams with, and, he really kind of got me going. He kind of had that point where, everyone kind of wanted to be my friend and be nice. And he was the one that kind of gave me the tough love, talk, and got me out of my dark place and my rock bottom, if you will. And I feel like I owe it to him in that regard, because I was in like really, really bad place. And I feel like now I've never been happier. And, I think it's important because it's kind of like a lesson. And I try to tell people, just because, you feel like you're at rock bottom, the funds might not be there in your bank account. You might not know what you're living for. You might not know happiness, all of that. You can always find it, and I think that's the beauty about our world, is that, life is not a linear story game. It's an RPG. You can go out there and do whatever you want. There's not really anything holding you back. The only thing that's holding you back is the thought that you believe things are holding you back. And I think that was the thing for me when I realized it didn't have to be just get a 9 to 5, go to college, do this, do that. I did get the 9 to 5, but I also have been building this wall, doing 9 to 5s, working 3 jobs, delivering Uber Eats. I had to make it. And now I do this full time. And I think it's just kind of, it kind of goes to show you, if you don't like where you're at right now, you don't like your surroundings, you don't like your, whatever, you can change that. And that's how, Downtown Rams and this whole, sports media push and, this, game plan, if you will, it came from that. I mean, I think really it was kind of a last ditch effort, but it was something that I was always my passion. And I just never really understood how easy it was to start. It's not easy to keep going. It's not easy to blow off your friends. They want to go to the bar and hang out on a Friday night and you're sitting there working your tail off. It's not always easy to do that, right? But, I put in the necessary work to get this thing going and establish a brand. And I'm glad I have, because, I think that's really where it came from. It's just, it was kind of like, well, you're at rock bottom. It can't get much worse, but you got to figure something out now. And I'm glad I was able to do that.
That's great. What an awesome story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're in a much better place now. You've seen this. I mean, obviously you're doing fantastic. What was that transition like when you're talking about going from kind of more casually posting originally into being more of like a dedicated creator? What steps did you take along the way? What kind of content were you creating to kind of get to where you are now?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I would wake up and I would know exactly what I want to do. I feel like when I get up from, 8 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep, whatever, I always kind of have an idea of, okay, this is my plan. How do I put it together? And the thing is, YouTube, and really the most lucrative part of this, which has allowed me to do this full time, didn't come until 2020 and at the very end of 2020. And I have that's my fault because my dad had been telling me to make a YouTube since 2016, but parents are always right. So there's that. But when I was writing, it was just things that like I was asking questions about. And, one of my best friends, well, my friend Tyler, he and I would have these back and forth conversations about football all the time. And I felt like, wait, I have a platform now. This isn't just like a thought-provoking conversation. This is something that I could go and I could put this on the internet and have other people, kind of chime in. And what I found is that, a lot of the times I ask questions no one else wants to ask. And I think having that platform allowed me to do those things. And when I started Downtown Rams, what ended up happening is it started off with just posting on Turf Show Times in the fan post section. It's funny how it's all, kind of came 180. And then now all of a sudden I'm writing for them today. But, I started as fan posting, and that's just like blogging. That's like, forum, whatever. And people started noticing that. And then I was able to fully dive into the site of Downtown Rams. And then before I tried to, dive into the site, Rams Wire, USA Today reaches out. So I write for them for a month. So, just the different avenues of gaining different, viewers and growing the brand a little bit. And I think that was really the cool thing, because being able to, go from, okay, this is a thought I have to now I can post it and I can have, X amount of people watching, listening, so forth. I think that's a beautiful thing. And so what I found is that, some of my narratives that I would put out there and be like, hey, just in case you didn't notice, like the Rams are whatever 5-10 when they don't give Todd Gurley at least 20 carries a game, and that's the thing. So I would post something like that, and then I'd see other people like recycling that in their arguments on Twitter, on Facebook. And it became really interesting when I noticed, I was like, wait, I have a voice here. Like this is really fascinating. And so it was less about kind of brainwashing people into my thinking, but asking more thought-provoking questions like, hey, maybe we see it this way, but what if it's actually this way? Like, I don't even know if it's that way, but we're gonna test, And I think the beauty of it is it's allowed me to be creative in my thought. And I've actually come to the conclusion on things that I don't even think I would have ever found, if not kind of experimenting. And so I think my content creation and like my whole strategy has just grossly changed. I mean, talk about from initially, I'm just a kid working at a price chopper And then I'm going to, well, I started off, I'm working my 9 to 5, and then I'm going over and doing the midnight shift at Price Chopper. And then I'm going home and working until about 6 a.m. on, articles, And so at that point, it was like whatever was on my mind at that point, and I would have a really good idea and forget it by the time I got home from work. So then I think over time, obviously, moving on from some of those jobs, I was able to kind of really focus. And then I'm able to dive in, do research. It's not just watch the film, but now I'm also able to look at analytics and take the film and the analytics and put together my kind of, hypothesis as to what's going on, and just, make notes, because what I never do is I don't script. A lot of people don't realize that I do not script any of my videos. I have bullet points. I think that's the way it's easier for me. And some people need to script, and that's cool. I can't look at a teleprompter. I will literally lose my mind. I'll miss one line and it'll be over. So, I think that's really kind of the thing, is that over time, based on where I was with my job, based on where I was with my life, I've just developed a different strategy. And what I realize now is I do very limited editing with the videos. Now that I've gotten a video, I initially was like 4K, has to be 4K, perfectly color graded, have all sorts of graphics. And what I find is that the minimalistic approach is actually benefited for me more, because now I'm able to pump out more content. It's not just pumping out content to see what sticks. It's content that I want to do. And I just had to kind of take a beat a little bit and be like, all right, can't drop this many things because it takes me X amount of time to, basically take a 4K video and then process it on YouTube without even editing it first off. And now I've gone to a more minimalistic approach where I'm just taking the video, not even taking it from my camera directly. I'm using open browser software, open broadcast software, OBS. And I'm pretty much just recording it right from there. I'm taking the 1080 instead of the 4K file. And I'm just, taking little bits and pieces where I'm editing, but I'm not throwing graphics up there. And I think people are just genuinely enjoying it. And, the numbers show that. So it's really fascinating because, my whole, strategy has vastly changed from 2016 to 2023. And that's to be expected, but even I wasn't expecting to change it this much.
You're posting kind of lots of different places. Where are you seeing right now the most traction? Like your YouTube or Twitter?
Definitely YouTube. I think YouTube has actually transcended Twitter for me, because, it's one thing, I think I have just under 20,000 followers on Twitter. I've already surpassed 20,000, subscribers on YouTube, getting to 21,000. So that tells me that it's not just the social aspect of what I already had, that I'm getting people that aren't necessarily on Twitter that are now, tuning in for this. And it's really been, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really cool, but it's just, I think YouTube does a great job of, kind of putting you out there. And, as long as you abide by the algorithm, I think you really have a shot. What I found, and actually I think a big reason why the growth continues to go up, is because, I initially didn't know what I wanted to do. The YouTube channel started off, I post the first videos about the Rams, the second video is about Lonzo Ball, and the third video is about the New York Giants. So it's kind of all over the place, or LaMelo Ball, excuse me. And, I gamed on that channel, and I did a horror podcast on that channel. See the Michael Myers mask in the background. So I have a lot of different things I'm interested in. I did some, some of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. You see the Spider-Man mask in the background. Like Loki, I did Loki and WandaVision. I did, kind of a review on those. And so what I didn't realize, because I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, things I want to, enjoy, things I like doing. What I didn't realize is that I wasn't really abiding by the algorithm, because the YouTube algorithm is trying to, recommend your content to people. And if you're a Rams channel and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to post this, and this, YouTube's like, I don't know what to tell you, but like, you've been posting, say you have 1,500 videos and 1,300 are sports related, and then only 200 are entertainment related. How are they going to recommend that? And so I think that's just something where, it's allowed me to kind of grow and learn and just, kind of put myself in that niche and realize that, look, I want to post whatever I want on the channel, and that is certainly going to happen someday. But you got to be big enough to do that, and I think that's the thing. I'm not big enough to do that right now. It's not to say it can't happen, in a year, 2 years, whatever, but it's so imperative for anybody starting anything that if you find your niche, you focus on your niche. It might be a little painful at times. You might want to do this, you might want to do that. Find a way to do that. You use a different platform or start a new YouTube channel. But I can't stress enough. I think that's one thing. I don't want to say I regret, but I can definitely see now that if there were times where I was growing at a really good pace and with the Rams content, and then maybe, just maybe, posting some of that other stuff might have actually set me back a little bit. So I think it's just all about, really learning. And, YouTube, as long as you abide by the algorithm, because you can't post whatever you want since it's so, high profile, until you're big enough. As long as you abide by it, I think YouTube is the best route to go. I recommend that to anybody who reaches out to me. And there are a lot of people that reach out to me like, hey, how the heck are you doing all this? And I explain. I mean, TikTok works for some people. Instagram works for some people. For me, I think YouTube is just the most. It's the best, I think, right now, because we don't know how long the short form vertical content is going to last. We don't. Right now, is this a fad? Is this here to stay? It's been here since COVID, right? But we don't know how long that's going to last. We already know that long form YouTube videos, they're going to last the test of time. They already have. It's been around for how many years? I mean, that's the thing. I want to believe in something that, one, shows me the most results, which YouTube does, and two, something that's already shown me like, okay, this is going to stick around. And sometimes you got to abide by the laws of everything. And vertical content has definitely taken off, and I've had to do quite a few of those. But I definitely prefer doing more, regular long form content, even the short form stuff, but just like a regular video. And those have definitely had the most success on YouTube.
Makes sense. Yeah. And you can also take those long form pieces that you're creating, cut them up, and then get them onto the other platforms, reuse that content. I guess, there's a lot of schools of thought with that one. Kind of shifting gears back over, kind of away from social, but more towards like how you approach football news going out there. I know, like, with the trade deadline just passing, like during off season, like news happens really quickly sometimes in football. How do you stay up to date with things so that way you can be, one of the first ones, either do an emergency podcast, emergency video, or a quick tweet? Like what tools do you use to stay up to date?
Yeah, I mean, I got Twitter up all day, pretty much. If I'm at my desk, I don't miss a thing. If I'm not at my desk, I have alerts on. So, for instance, the Carson Wentz signing, it's a big thing. I've been saying they need to do that for a while. The Rams sign him. I was watching the morning show, I think it was, and my co-host of Downtown Rams, Alexis Kraft, like, we're texting back and forth about that. Then Carson Wentz signs, like, I gotta go do this. And I already had the thumbnail already made and everything in case this happened, because I had a feeling it was going to. And so, yeah, what I'll end up doing, like in that case, is I know I'm about to spend at least 15 minutes talking about this. So I can turn this into a video, take 15 minutes to record the video. Now this news is out there for 15 minutes. That doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be out in 15 minutes, because now I also have to wait for YouTube to process it. So what I did is I was just like, I'm just going to go live. And this will be a video, and I'll keep it to 15 minutes, even though it's hard to, sign off on a live stream when you have over 400 people, watching you. But, you got to stick to your game plan. And that was my game plan. And so that ended up being one of the best videos I've had in quite some time. But that's kind of like my thought process, is that, if it's that urgent, I'll do that. If other stuff, I'll do a video. Cam Akers was traded to the Vikings, for instance. I did a 1:30 video, and it did really well. Do you get, the mid roll revenue? No, you don't. If you don't hit 8 minutes on YouTube, you don't have a chance to have those mid roll ads. And I know a lot of people would be turned off by that, but I just want to get it out there, because it wasn't necessarily about the revenue. It was more about the trust that I've built, in my audience. People want to see the news. They look at my page now. Can't even believe that. I mean, people literally will go to my YouTube channel and will use my YouTube channel to tell them about the Rams news. And they might see it on Twitter, but they're still going to check out mine because they want to see my rapid reaction, because they know I'm not just going to say, this guy, he's not good, so forth. I'm going to tell you what school he went to. I'm going to tell you his college stats. I'm going to tell you his injury history. I'm going to tell you what he can do, what he can't do. And then, the potential, long-term thing, short-term thing. And so I think that's important. So really just my strategy. I mean, I've been just kind of lucky, but I also, at the same time, I mean, you're still going to live your life and everything. I got an anonymous tip from definitely a burner Twitter account the day Robert Woods tore his ACL, and I was at a Devils game, and I couldn't do anything. So I also didn't know if I could trust it. So I didn't say anything, and then unfortunately the news came out. So sometimes, you're living your life and it's on a Saturday and you're at a hockey game and you can't quite do anything, right? But for the most part, I think I've done a decent enough job. And I think really, what happens is, like, with my strategy, is that I don't have that 9 to 5 job where I'm at the office anymore. So since I work from home and it's all, freelancing, I allow myself the flexibility where if anything does happen during the week, I don't really feel like there's an excuse for me to miss that. And I know because the Rams are 3 hours behind me, I know that, okay, at 4, you might think, oh yeah, 4 is when all of the news comes out and everything, but the Rams are at 1. So sometimes other stuff will happen, at 7 my time. And so I kind of block off that, that section, where I just want to be at least in the vicinity. If I'm upstairs or, whatever, if I'm around the house or I'm in the area, it's quick for me to get back and do that. But yeah, I think it really just comes down to allowing myself to get away from that 9 to 5 office and be able to work from home. And it's allowed me to do that. And I'll admit, I did a couple of that stuff even when I was working from home for my original 9 to 5 job. Hey, it had to happen. So, I think that's really what it's all about, is like, and here's another thing. A lot of people, stress on the breaking news aspect of it, but you also have to look at it. If you miss it, there's still content to be made there, because you can do breaking news is rapid reaction, or you're just saying it. You're not adding any context to it. So there is that. I don't go that avenue, but you can go that avenue. Just saying what it is and just moving on. For me, if I'm on top of it, this is an opportunity to have a rapid reaction, and people like that, right? What are your absolutely initial thoughts? Because that's like, I want to know your knee jerk. And then if you miss that, or even if you don't, this is still an option. But what I found, if you miss something, like I was at a movie and Logan Bruss was, ruled out for the season. That's the 3rd round pick. That was their top pick, I believe, in that draft. And so that was a significant injury. And I go back home and it happened 4 hours ago. So now I'm shifting my gear from, okay, this is what, this is a rapid reaction, to this is not a rapid reaction. It was 4 hours ago. I'm going to do more of an analytical approach and just really, try to analyze this whole thing. And so now I've set my approach to, all right, this happened. This is what this could mean. And now I have a chance to really digest, because at this point, there's no need to rush. The news has been out for 4 hours. So I have a chance to digest the information, go about who's on the depth chart, who could replace him, how does this look long-term for him? Has he had injury issues in the past? And come out with a clear, concise, and, analysis-driven video. And so I think that's really been my thought process in doing, breaking news and, imperative things like that.
That's awesome. We were talking about the Carson Wentz thing. I remember you were been calling him, for the Rams to sign him for a while here. I remember when that came out, you mentioned on Twitter that people broke your notifications because people were hitting you up so much. What was that like? I mean, to be correct and have like a flood of people on the internet being like, hey, and calling you out and being excited because you've been calling for this for, weeks to months now. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it's something that I should probably say, yeah, I've gotten used to it, but I really haven't. Because I've broken other news in the past, the John Johnson signing and uniform related and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I will get over it and it won't be a big deal, but it is, everyone wants to feel loved in some capacity. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. That's not a cool thing, like where I mean, obviously I'd like Twitter to work, but at the same time, if Twitter's not working because too many people are mentioning your name and tagging you in posts and stuff, kind of reaffirming their belief in what you provide, that's definitely not a bad thing. And so, yeah, I think really like for me, it was cool because, it'd been kind of a dead period. The Rams had just lost 3 straight. So it was nice to get a little win in there. But again, I'm not doing this to be right or wrong. I mean, I'm doing this just because, I really do believe that I can provide information. And Wentz is somebody that they met with, they worked out in, I believe, March. And I just couldn't understand going back, watching the tape on him, seeing his season 2 years ago at the Colts, which isn't that long ago. I just couldn't understand why people were so dismissive towards by far the best option for the backup quarterback. And when you have a quarterback in Matthew Stafford who, suffered a really serious injury. I mean, a spinal cord contusion is scary. I mean, that's a scary injury. And to have that age 35, I just think, there weren't enough people concerned about that injury to the point where they'd be like, okay, we'll take the best backup. It was kind of more so, let's just roll with the rookie. Let's just roll with, the guy they ended up signing who's no longer on the team, Brett Rippon. And let's just do that. And I just didn't like that approach. So instead of just saying you guys are all wrong and this is why, like I was just like, this is why I believe this. And I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen, but they've already met with him. And he's got, this familiarity with, John Gruden, who's Sean McVay's his mentor, if you will. So I saw definitely there's connections there. And then it was cool to have people acknowledge that. Because I mean, I was making the video, and then after I made the video, I went out with my friend, had dinner, and Twitter just exploded. My phone had so many notifications, and it was cool.
That's awesome. What a great feeling.
Yeah.
Kind of last question in this segment here is like, how can we get Big Whit to re-sign a 1-year deal and take the Rams back to the Super Bowl and protect Stafford's left side? Because I want to get this guy back. I miss him.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I love Andrew Whitworth. I don't think it's not realized enough, or maybe it's starting to. But it's not realized enough how important he truly is to this team and how important he was. You talk about Orlando Pace at the greatest show on turf, and then, you see Andrew Whitworth, and I think they're kind of one and the same. I mean, Orlando Pace was the cornerstone for the greatest show on turf. Kurt Warner doesn't become Kurt Warner without a blindside protector. No quarterback. Tom Brady without a left tackle isn't Tom Brady. Because, if you have a bad left tackle and you have a guy coming off the edge and he's hitting you in the blind spot, he's either going to force a fumble or maybe he'll even injure you. So, I think, just going through it and seeing the last 2 years or, a year and a half without Whitworth, they need somebody like that. It's why, even though you hear a lot about the draft and drafting a quarterback, I think without a doubt, they need to focus on left tackle. And I think it's fun to have the flashy, Marvin Harrison Jr., the really like Justin Jefferson-esque player. The Rams already have those type of guys, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell. Way more focused on left tackle, because if you don't have a left tackle, then your quarterback's not going to be able to throw without confidence and with confidence. So, I think that's the most important thing. And, if Whit were to come back, I mean, that'd be great, but I don't see it.
No.
I think they're going to have to draft their go-to guy who will not only benefit Stafford in the short term, but benefit the future franchise quarterback of the Rams, who we don't know. Only the future knows in the long term.
Yeah, I think the game is won on the line, right? On both sides of the line. So we got to, our defensive line with Donald's been fantastic, but sometimes it's been good, sometimes it's been bad. A couple of years was really good, but we gotta help out on the offensive line. That really killed us last year, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Well, let's go into some funny games, man. So, as you know, like we track all like NFL teams and influencers across each team and across NFL in general. So, I'm going to ask you for who you think are the most trending in any of those categories, and just let us know your top five. So, which five teams do you think have been? This is specifically on X on Twitter. Which five teams have been talked? Actually, no. Excuse me. I'll take that back. It's on all five kind of major social media networks. Five teams have been talked the most over the past 24 hours by social interaction. How many interactions people given those?
Okay. In order?
You can give me however you want. You can give me just five general, or I have them in order. So if you want to give it to me in order, give it to me in order.
I'm not going to give it to you in order because that sounds like a lot. But well, let's see. I mean, the Jets and Raiders just played. I'm going to say the Jets because you said the last 24 hours.
Yes.
So the Jets, because I mean the Aaron Rodgers news, the Jets, with Zach Wilson, I feel like everybody's watching the Jets because they know they have a historical defense. I covered them last year, so this isn't a shock with the defense. But I would say the Jets. I would say the Lions. People are finally starting to see that they're a Super Bowl contender. So I would say the Jets, the Lions. I would probably. All right. So let's see. Jets, Lions, and then there were some close games yesterday. The Ravens, because I think a lot of people believe they're the best team in the NFL and they just lost on a field goal and they blew a lead. Definitely the Texans because of CJ Stroud. I think just he's becoming one of the best quarterbacks in football in his rookie year. And then, the last one here. What am I going to guess? I'm going to say the Giants. Big fan base. The realization that Caleb Williams could be around the corner or whoever, Drake May. So those are my five teams.
You got two.
Wow.
So, yeah, coming in number one is the Browns.
I almost said Browns. I decided to go with the losing team in that one.
Number two, Cowboys.
Okay.
Then the 49ers. Then the Giants, then the Jets.
Okay. So I got the two teams closest to me.
Niners actually trend pretty well this season just because they're doing so well. And I think there was a lot of conversation around CMC yesterday. The couple of plays they had at the end trying to get him his touchdown. A lot of social chatter, especially some of the post-game coverage as well. Browns obviously winning a big game for them. So and I think that kind of helped them as well. Especially that comeback was pretty impressive. So a lot of conversation around that as well. Okay, what about the top five creators for the Rams over the past 24 hours across the board, across all social platforms together?
For the Rams?
Yes.
I'm going to say Jordan Rodgers. Well, does this also count the Rams social media?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rams social media.
Yeah, they're in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Jordan Rodriguez. Yes or no?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Jordan's not in there. Even though she's fantastic.
Yeah, no, she's great.
I love her, but she's not in there, no.
Man, if she's not in there. Although it's last 24 hours. So
24 hours, yeah. And we had a bye week. So social interaction. So you gotta think about who's getting the most engagement. Now Jordan has great content, but does she get the most engagement? Does she have the most influence out there?
That's true. All right, my old co-host from Downtown Rams, Blaine Grisak, is he in there?
No.
Am I in there?
You are. You're third.
Okay. I'm third. Okay.
You're third. Yeah.
So the Rams social is number one, right?
No, it's Ian Rappaport.
Okay.
Rams, you, NFL rumors, and then Vince. Vince AYG. He does all the pins and everything.
Oh yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm third, and it's kind of I mean, I'd say the last 3 days, I feel like it's been more of a staycation for me. Because I mean, you work all throughout the bye, and then you're like, all right, it's a bye week. You got to calm down a little bit. So I could be first. I mean,
You're not far away. I mean,
Yeah.
Ian Rappaport obviously has such a huge following.
Oh,
That
I know.
Going to like,
But I
he
like
really
Ian, so he can have that.
Yeah. So you had we had a bye week. We didn't have a lot of people posting. How many individual influencers do you think tweeted about the Rams over the past 24 hours?
This is probably so far off, but like I'll say 50,000.
Wow, no, really low. We had a bye week, and by all the influencers, not just general people actually mentioning the Rams in posts, Ramley, or Whose House, or any of the other terms that we track. It's only 570.
570.
Very, very quiet week for the Rams this week.
Wow. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. Very, very, very quiet buy aside from the Carson Wentz deal. The Carson Wentz thing goes through beginning of the week. There wasn't really anything after that. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Who are the top 5 influencers for all of the NFL over the past 24 hours?
Okay. Well, Ian Rappaport.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL social media account.
Nope.
No? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Adam Schefter?
Yep.
Let's see. So, all right, so I got 2, and you need 3 more. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go Tom Pelissaro.
I don't know if that's his handle or not. I'll give you the name. I don't know if I'm familiar with his handle, but basically, if JPA football.
JP8 football.
JPA football.
JPA football. Okay.
And then we have let's see here, My Sports Update.
Wow.
And then we have Dove Kleiman.
Wow. So the last 24 hours, the most in the NFL, you're talking about 3 of the 5 are news aggregators.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. They're getting the most social engagement on their posts.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, let's turn over to Schiffer here for some lightning round. So I'll let you take it away, Schiffer.
Okay. So Jake, as much as you can, like as quickly as you can, like I don't want you to think I want the rapid reactions. So let me know when you're ready and we'll start. Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. So if you had to pick one for the next 3 years, Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua?
Next 3 years, I'm going to say Cooper Kupp.
Okay. What number should the Rams retire next?
13, Kurt Warner.
Best sports creator / influencer at this moment?
Oh, no. Brett Coleman.
If you weren't a Rams fan, what team would you pick?
The Jets.
And would you pick turf or grass?
Natural grass.
Draft picks or veteran trades?
Now I'll say draft picks.
4th and 1 on the 50-yard line. Punt or go for it?
Go for it.
Greatest Rams player, Marshall Faulk or Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald. Sorry, Marshall.
Best current Rams uniform combo?
Ooh, best current, I'm going to go with the classic blue and yellow.
And what's the best Rams uniform of all time?
The classic blue and yellow with the 1970s yellow stripe on the sock.
And what's the best non-Super Bowl game? 2018 Monday Night Football versus the Chiefs or
Absolutely.
NFC Championship versus the 49ers?
Without a shadow of a doubt. 54-51. I mean, I love defense, but I don't know. That game was just special. And there was defense in that, believe it or not. So yeah,
I was at that game. I was like top 5 in-person game of my life. It was insane.
I'm so jealous. The game was insane.
Some more questions. What are your favorite Rams rivalries? Is it 49ers or the Seahawks?
49ers. It's funny, if you asked me that before I became a creator and I had to deal with some of these fans in my mentions, I'd probably say Seattle. But because the Seattle Seahawks are a cockroach, like they don't die and they never have a bad season. They're always just kind of or like they're really good and they're annoying. The 49ers have died. Like they've fallen off. And I've seen 49ers fans just completely disappear. And now they're very, very loud. So I would definitely say the Niners.
And what's your favorite game day experience? Live at the stadium or a detailed analysis from home?
You know, I mean, I really like from home. But I think for me, it's hard because I only get to go to like 1 to 2 games being in New York. So I do think it's kind of like a sacred thing. Like every now and then I'll be able to go to a game and I remember each game I go to, which kind of makes that cool. I still it can't beat at home. I love the broadcast view. I think football is the best sport to watch on TV. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Those are all the questions for me. Evan, do you have any more questions?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. It's been fantastic getting to know you and learning about your background, your experience, and how you approach social media in general and influence creation. So thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. One of my favorites, I would say. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews since 2016. I've gone on a lot of shows. This was very cool. I very much enjoyed this.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that does it for us. And we'll see everybody next time.